this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
People don't listen to radio ads. While you're driving or making a sandwich, your subconscious pays full attention. So relax. Let it take over.
Sunday makes yard care simple with a custom plan based on your soil, climate, and yard size. No pesticides, no harsh stuff.
Custom Sunday lawn plan.
Order today and get your
Custom Sunday lawn plan.
ready for the season ahead. Sunday, a smarter, healthier yard.
The countdown is on for the 2026 NFL Draft presented by Bud Light. Catch all 7 rounds, 3 days, live from Pittsburgh, April 23rd through 25th. Watch every pick live on NFL Network, ESPN, and ABC. NFL Network is also streaming with NFL Plus. It all starts Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Visit NFL.com/draft for more information. Subscription required for NFL Plus. Visit plus.nfl.com for terms.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Tired of spills and stains on your sofa? Wash away your worries with Anabay. Anabay is the only designer sofa that's machine washable inside and out, starting at just $699. Plus, Anabay sofas are pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and feature changeable slip covers and modular pieces. Get up to 60% off site-wide with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Visit washablesofas.com to get yours now. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Welcome in, Tuesday edition, Play Travis Buck Sexton show. Okay, we got so many different stories, as has been the case for some time, that we are all following, beginning with President Trump letting us all know that JD Vance is headed to Pakistan for round 2 of the negotiations. But President Trump called into CNBC. We'll get into all that. Let me also give you a little bit of a roadmap of where we're headed. Hour 2, Molly Hemingway has got a brand new book out about Justice Alito and also the behind-the-scenes story of the Supreme Court over the past several years. I think there's going to be, and already have been, many bombshells coming out of her book. Buck, Molly is super talented. Wrote all about the Kavanaugh ridiculousness. I loved the reading of that story. When
Justice on Trial.
That's right. Great book. Rigged, also a very, very good book. Very talented writer. I believe, if I remember correctly, her mom, big fan of the Clay and Buck show, if I remember the last time we had her on.
Does this surprise anyone that her mom is also brilliant and loves Clay and Buck? Of course not. Zero surprise.
So if mom is listening now, we are excited to have your daughter on in the second hour of the program, and congrats on having such a successful daughter who's got a brand new book that is selling a lot of copies, and we will discuss. Bottom of the second hour, Michelle Tafoya running for Senate in Minnesota, under the radar race there in a Senate seat that is currently held by Democrats, but is one of many that New Hampshire, Michigan, Georgia, Democrat-held seats. Any one of those flips in the midterms, and we are talking about 0% chance of Democrats taking back control of the Senate. So we will dive into that with Michelle Tafoya. Remember, it wasn't very long ago that everybody was saying, oh, what's happening in Minneapolis is going to be the biggest story on the planet when it comes to the midterms. And instead, it's like, what happened in Minneapolis kind of has vanished. But let's go into the biggest story out there, which is everything surrounding Iran as we gear up for negotiation in Pakistan 2.0. President Trump called into CNBC before the stock market opened this morning. Stock market, by the way, roughly flat, has not moved much on Monday or Tuesday after setting all-time record highs as recently as Friday. But President Trump had a lot to say. I'm going to pull some of these cuts and we will react to them. Buck, by the way, ton of talkbacks. Lots of you want to react to everything that we have already been talking about this week, and we look forward to those as well. 800-282-2882 if you would like to join us on this program. As Buck has said, thesis statements as you're open. The first 10 seconds defines your future as a caller. Own it.
That was actually a caller, and I just stole from the caller because if you're calling in, I feel like we're allowed to use your intellectual property. He said thesis in 10 seconds, and that was the phrase. And I think that that's a very good, by the way, to people who are saying, but I want to, no, we need to know what you're talking about, and then we can help guide if things are getting a little long or we need to get into something. But if you're talking to us and you're taking a preamble, and it goes 30 seconds, then we get a little off the rails. And we just want to get as many of you in as possible.
We have a lot of guys who call in, and the first thing they say is my city or my state or my name is a little bit different. Nobody knows who you are. Make your argument, and then maybe you can be one day like Linda, and you can be driving American policy.
Light him up, Linda. Oh, wait, that's a different Linda.
Different.
Arizona Linda.
We have coast-to-coast
We got
Lindas.
double Lindas. Yeah.
Double Lindas dominating the national political discourse by just calling this show. Okay. Trump, saying, hey, we totally control. And by the way, we should also mention, as we discussed yesterday, if you are in Virginia, get out and vote no, on whether they should redistrict and turn 11 seats in Virginia from a 6-5 Democrat lead, which roughly equates with the overall voting population in that state, to 10-1, which is a radically gerrymandered congressional district, the likes of which does not exist in any purple state in America. This is the most aggressive redistricting attempt that we have seen anywhere. Okay, with that in mind, Trump, we totally control the Strait of Hormuz. This is the essence of the dispute at this point in time. The rift with Iran, cut 3.
They killed 42,000 people over the last 2 months. And, you get to a point where people don't want to mention that. They don't like mentioning that. 42,000 unarmed protesters, innocent unarmed protesters, many of them hung. So we're not dealing with the nicest group of people, but we're dealing with them very successfully. And the blockade has been a tremendous success. They said 2 days ago, we will open the strait. I said, no, we're not going to open the strait until we have a final deal. No, we want to open the strait. They said, we're not opening. We totally control the strait, just so you understand, for all the fake news out there.
Yeah, and look, I give Trump credit here, Buck, for the use of the word control was used by some elements of the president's adversaries in some way to try to suggest Iran was winning the war. Obviously, we have a blockade in place. For those of you who have been following, and I understand it's kind of a confusing thing to be following legitimately minute to minute, the dispute in the Strait right now, so far as I can simplify it, Buck, is the U.S. says they will not fully end the blockade until Iran agrees to peace plans. Iran is saying the strait should be open during the ceasefire, but if the United States insists on keeping its blockade in place, then Iran is not going to allow the strait to be open either. I think that gets to the essence of it. But so this is one of the big disputes. Your take, if at all, I think I summed that up pretty well as to where we are at this exact moment.
Yes, I think that we don't really know where we are at this exact moment in the sense that the end of the movie hasn't happened yet. So it's very tough to say whether this is a great victory, brilliant strategic move or not. We can estimate it and we can analyze where it stands right now. But I'm telling you, the Iranians, the one thing that I know they're really good at, meaning the people who are in charge there, is creating the grounds for endless talking where they just know they'll cheat as soon as they can. Because they've had decades of practice at this. And they know that it's very hard to enforce things, right? It's very hard once you've started to get to the table. It's a bad look when you say we're in negotiations and then we're going to hit them. We're going to hit them again. We're going to hit them again, right? Then they start to look like they're the victims, meaning the regime are the victims. So, Clay, the one part of this, that I should have known, or rather I should have tempered my enthusiasm a little bit, was Trump saying, oh, we're just going to blockade them and the strait is open. Not really. It's actually not really how it goes. So that part of it is still to be. Now you could say, no, we do have the military power to project and we can allow ships through. But yeah, if the ships don't buy it, if the other ships that are going through don't feel safe, it doesn't matter. And that's where we're in a little bit of a jam here. That's where things, or a lot of bit of a jam in the Strait of Hormuz. So yeah, I think that Trump Trump is doing what he always does, which is selling the end state, selling the glorious, victory a little early in this process, but there's still reason to believe that he can get us there. That's where I would put it. But I'm some of my hesitation about this, Clay, from the very beginning. Yeah, this stuff is really hard. Actually, this stuff is very difficult to get where you want it to go. And the other side, I mean, Trump said, yeah, they've killed all these people. I keep pointing out, we say, hey, what about all the people that should rise up in resistance? They killed 40,000 people.
Yeah.
They weren't just killing protesters, everybody. When they're killing protesters in the street, they're sending the secret police, they're sending assassination squads to go after. It's a police state. They know who's talking. They know who's a problem. And they were liquidating resistance members during this, too. Of course. Because if you were an evil tyrant, wouldn't you do that?
The other part of this, as JD Vance travels to Pakistan, by the way, you want to talk about a tough trip? You imagine flying all the way to Pakistan to work 21 straight hours negotiating, turn around, leave, and then fly back to Pakistan. This is
he can sleep. He can sleep on the plane. Crimea River. It's not that bad.
I don't know. This is not very fun. Here is Trump saying the ceasefire ends tomorrow. Saying I do not want to extend the deadline. He's threatening that he's going to resume airstrikes. Here is Trump on the negotiations with Iran and Pakistan, and the deadline cut 4.
The deadline for the ceasefire is tomorrow. If it looks like things are progressing, will you not necessarily extend it to a definitive amount of time, but will you let it keep going if there's progress in the talks before taking?
Well, I don't want to do that. We don't have that much time because by the time both parties get there, as you know, they just got the okay to go forward, which I knew they were going to do anyway. I mean, I don't think they had a choice. They have to negotiate.
Clay.
Okay.
I said at the beginning of this process 2 weeks ago, and I said, mark it down. We're going to get to the end of the ceasefire, and we're going to have an awesome agreement to extend the ceasefire to talk about the agreement. Does anyone want to take the other side of that bet right now? I don't think so.
I think the likelihood is, and I'll just say this, that we're going to see flare-ups here for the next few months. Hold on, by the way. CNN is reporting that JD Vance has not yet left for Pakistan. I don't know to what extent or how long that flight is, not short. But there has been some talk, Buck, that because
12 to 14 hours. I'm trying to remember Afghanistan. It's like a 12-hour, 13-hour flight, I think.
It's so much of a shorter flight for Iran to be able to get to Pakistan that there is some jockeying over, well, when are your leaders going to leave? Well, when are our leaders going to leave? Because I think one thing you don't want to do, Buck, is have JD Vance take off for Pakistan and then just turn around and come back to the United States before he even lands there, right? Because Iran suddenly says, well, the talks are off. We're kind of at a disadvantage. Sounds ridiculous, I know, but we're kind of at a disadvantage because our travel is such that when he boards the plane and starts his transit, Iran actually has a little bit of leverage to suddenly make us look bad. I'm just saying, by saying, well, we're refusing to go. And then JD Vance either has to go and potentially not meet, or they just turn Air Force 2 around and he lands back in United States.
Are any of you feeling like, and I'm sorry. I'd love to sit here and just chant USA, USA and say that we've kicked ass and everything is awesome. we have kicked ass, but everything is not awesome. This is not done. And there's a lot that remains to be seen here. Do you feel like the Iranians are acting like people who are cornered? And when I say the Iranians, we all know I'm talking about their leadership. Does it look like they feel defeated? Like they have no choice? Like they are desperate for a deal? I don't think so. Are we being honest about this? I don't think that it looks like they're desperate for a deal. So, this is where things go. I don't know. Some of the people that spent a lot of time in this part of the world before this administration came along were concerned that this is going to be again, I'm not saying we're not going to get there. We might get there, but just want to level set expectations, as they say. It's not easy stuff. It's not as easy as just blow them up for a couple of weeks and then they'll do anything you want. Now, Trump knows that. I know that's an oversimplification, but we need to strap in here a little bit. The idea that we're just going to go in there, kick their ass, and then they're going to say, fine, what do you want, is not what is happening. That's not what is happening. For whatever we want to say. Now, maybe we bleed them out more, Clay, with the economic embargo or the blockade. Fine. That's going to take weeks, maybe months.
I think the challenge, and we'll get into this, I think one of the biggest challenges we're facing right now is there is still a battle for who has actual power inside of Iran. There is a bit of a power vacuum. And if you are seen inside of Iran as bending the knee too much to the United States, then your political adversaries in the country, are likely to try to wipe you out, right? So one of the biggest challenges I think we're dealing with right now is who is actually in control in Iran and who can make a deal, who has the authority to actually make deals. Remember, we still haven't even seen the Ayatollah. Okay. Like, we don't know where he is. We don't know what he's going to do.
Counterpoint, Captain Optimism. And by the way, everyone's rooting for you on this one. So I'm having fun here. I get to put on I'm the heel in wrestling. But counterpoint, we haven't seen a single street protest. We haven't seen any uprising anywhere in the country of any significance whatsoever since we bombed the regime to smithereens. We have seen nothing on the streets. We haven't even seen the beginnings. So they were willing to go out in the streets and be, and face machine gun fire very bravely before we did all this. But now we've done all this. Where's our glorious uprising? Even the beginnings of it. Where's the ember that will start the fire?
It's a great question. It hasn't existed. And early on, you could say it hasn't existed because we're bombing and there's nervousness and danger and fear, from being outside.
Or a ceasefire. Yeah.
But now, 2 weeks of ceasefire and there has been zero, as you said, embers of internal revolt. We'll take calls about this. We'll continue to discuss. But in the meantime, is there a way to protect your family using a non-lethal weapon? Absolutely. Sabre is the answer. Pepper gel projectile launcher, great example if you're confronted with a home intruder or someone with evil intent. Being able to fire off a pepper gel projectile that's targeted, goes the distance, game changer in a tense situation. We have them in our house. Sabre, spelled S-A-B-R-E. The website is sabreradio.com. Family-owned business, been making self-protection products for 50 years. In fact, Sabre makes the #1 pepper spray projectile trusted by law enforcement. If you haven't done it yet, don't wait. Get yourself up with Sabre's self-protection tools. You're going to love it. We have every single one of these. They also have, if you got kids that are out working long hours, you got kids that are just out running around, grandkids, off to college, maybe working jobs that end late at night. You can get hooked up now by going online to sabreradio.com. You'll save 15% there. SABRE radio.com. That's sabreradio.com. 15% off. SABRE radio.com.
Looking for normal in a world of crazy? Clay and Buck have your back.
When the dollar's convertibility into gold ended in 1971, gold was fixed at $35 an ounce. Fast forward to today, the effects of inflation on the U.S. dollar are staggering. It's lost over 85% of its purchasing power in the past 55 years. Gold, on the other hand, has increased in value by over 12,000%. That's why many central banks around the world are buying gold at record levels. That's why major firms hold significant positions in gold. Birch Gold Group just announced their Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. This free online event rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. Sign up to get free silver on your next purchase if you qualify. And you can get even larger incentives as you go. The more you learn, the more you can earn. But you must act now, as this special event only runs through April 30th. Text my name Buck to the number 989898 to join Birch Gold's Learn and Earn Precious Metals event by April 30th. Text Buck to 989898 today.
Get ready for the wildest sight your lawn has ever seen. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. This spring, unleash soil science like never before. Witness your custom lawn plan and the transformation to a soft green paradise.
Sorry, just trying to get your attention. Sunday is a boringly simple way to get a green, healthy yard. No harsh stuff, no big trucks, no chaos. Order today and get your custom Sunday yard plan for the season ahead. Sunday, smarter lawn care for less. GetSunday.com.
The countdown is on for the 2026 NFL Draft presented by Bud Light. Catch all 7 rounds 3 days live from Pittsburgh, April 23rd through 25th. Watch every pick live on NFL Network, ESPN, and ABC. NFL Network is also streaming with NFL Plus. It all starts Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Visit NFL.com/draft for more information. Subscription required for NFL Plus. Visit plus.nfl.com for terms.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Welcome back in. Hour number 2, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton show. We continue to wait on news as to whether or not there will be any talks in Pakistan. The ceasefire deadline tomorrow evening. So far, no one has taken off yet. And we will see whether there are, in fact, any meetings in Pakistan or not. We are joined now by the editor-in-chief of The Federalist, great site run by my friend Sean Davis here out of the great state of Tennessee. Molly Hemingway joins us now, and her book is called Alito, the Justice Who Reshaped the Supreme Court and Restored the Constitution. I actually can't wait to read this because, as we were talking about it earlier, I really loved your book on Kavanaugh and Rigged. You have written some outstanding works. If I remember correctly, as I was saying earlier, you also have a fantastic mother who is a listener of this radio program. So congratulations to her on the publication of your new book. And let's dive in, Molly, right off the top, because I know moms are very excited when their daughters and sons publish books. Let's dive right in off the top. Lots of discussion, including on this program of late, about whether Justice Alito might be stepping down. You've done more research on Justice Alito than anyone. What do you think is going to happen? How many more years do you think he has? What is not only the past, but the prologue, what is the prologue and the future, look like for Justice Alito?
Well, I agree with the reporting that came out a couple days ago that he is not going to be stepping down this term. That matches my understanding as well. I thought it interesting that Thomas's chambers also reportedly, they said he's not stepping down either. I do think that people should be open to the possibility that there still will be a retirement at the end of this term. I'm not saying there will be, but I think there's a chance. There are 3 Republican-appointed justices in their 70s. They've all served, quite some time, at least 20 years, and so would not be completely shocked if there were one. But as for Alito himself, I think one of his big goals as a judge has been to protect religious liberty. Even before he got on the Supreme Court, he cared about one bad Supreme Court decision in particular, which was Employment Division v. Smith. They almost overturned it a couple years ago, but Barrett and Kavanaugh weren't quite ready to, but they're taking another bite at that apple this next term. And so I think maybe when that is done, he'll feel more comfortable about seeing his work as having reached a point where he can be satisfied. But he also could serve for another 10, 15 years for all we know.
Okay, you just dropped a little nugget there that I want to come back to. Thomas and Alito have both said there have been reports that they're not stepping down. John Roberts is also over 70. Do you think John Roberts might be interested in stepping down?
I can't, it's pure speculation, which is not
totally
ever the most healthy thing when you're talking about the court. But people always talk about Thomas and Alito, and they just leave out the guy who's been serving for the second longest time, which is Roberts. And he has had a lengthy, very full career. He's also probably mildly frustrated that some of his big goals on the court, which included collegiality and comedy and the court speaking with one voice, it seems that some of the justices, and you've seen some reports about this in the last week or so, they're just flagrantly violating those norms. And he's probably, he could be frustrated by that. And so who knows? I just think it's something worth considering if we're in the speculating business.
Hey, Molly, it's Buck, and congrats on the book, among many great books. I'm looking on my shelf right now at other Molly Hemingway magnum opuses, including Rigged, and, of course, Justice on Trial. And, Clay, I had to actually call Molly during the Kavanaugh character assassination fiasco just so she could talk me off the ledge like it was going to be okay. I was like, to tell me they're not actually going to be able to do this to this guy. And it was a close one, but she kept the faith, and certainly Kavanaugh finally got through okay. Molly, to that end, on the dirtiness sometimes within the Supreme Court, we wish it weren't so, but there is dirtiness in the Supreme Court. Tell everybody about the timing of Dobbs, which was the decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. Walk us through what you found on this and what the timeline tells us about the three libs on the court and their lack of urgency, shall we say, to actually have that decision come forward.
So for Alito, I interviewed close to 100 people, many of them federal judges, many of them Supreme Court justices, and I got a lot of interesting stories and information out of it. But far and away, the most interesting, explosive thing I learned was that after the Dobbs leak, when the lives of each of the Dobbs justices was under threat, assassination threat, security threats, people were wearing bulletproof vests, they were being moved to secure locations, their children were being targeted. The three liberals who co-authored the dissent in Dobbs, which would be Breyer, Kagan, and Sotomayor, basically conspired to slow walk and delay their dissent to the very last minute, even though they knew their colleagues weren't just dealing with these threats, but had asked them to please hurry. And even by the time of the leak, which came months after the majority had distributed their opinion, they should have had it done by then. They didn't. They were asked to speed it up, and they declined. And to the extent that the one justice who was open to speeding things up, who was Justice Breyer, was screamed at, according to my sources, by Elena Kagan, who said, do not speed up for them. And they didn't get it done until June. And then when they filed their dissent, it still couldn't come out for another 3+ weeks because they included a completely unnecessary and gratuitous reference to a case that was still being worked on. And so the final Dobbs decision didn't come out until June 23rd, and this was nearly 2 months of people dealing with unending security and death threats. And during that time, I'll point out, Kavanaugh himself and his children and his wife, faced an assassin outside their home.
We talked about it on the program at the time. I found it to be despicable. And we've continued to bring this up every now and then when we have guests like you. Did you uncover any possible idea who the leaker was in Dobbs? Do you think inside of the Supreme Court there's any suggestion or idea of who this might be? Because we just got another leak that was super anti the so-called conservative side of the court, which suggests this isn't over, having to do with emergency dockets and whatnot. Do you think they have any decent idea who did this? What is the vibe inside of the White House, inside of the Supreme Court? You mentioned the lack of collegiality, Justice Roberts' frustration. That to me is still a huge story that it's just like everybody pretends never happened.
It was huge. And even though nobody suspected any of the justices of being directly involved in the leak, it did hamper the situation given how those justices handled the aftermath of the leak. But one of the things I really get into in the book is everything about the Dobbs leak investigation, what went right, which was basically nothing, what went wrong, which was a ton of stuff, and just exploring, yes, it's a difficult thing to investigate, but they just did a horrible job of it. Chief Justice John Roberts, set the marshal on the task immediately, but it took weeks before they really began investigating anything. They didn't even understand all the different places that people can have copies of that draft opinion, including in their homes. They didn't ask questions of the clerks that would in any way get to the heart of the answer. So, for instance, they would say, "Did you leak the document?" And everybody said no. Well, imagine, if you will, that one of the clerks takes the decision or the draft opinion home and someone else in the house leaks it. That clerk could say, "I didn't leak it," even if there were kind of a bigger plot to get that decision to the reporters in question. They should have asked real questions like, do you know this reporter? Do you know this other reporter who were involved with the leak? Do you know any editors at Politico? Have you ever interacted with Politico? Tell us about the times that you did. They could have run it like they actually wanted to find out who did it. Now, having said all that, I do think that a lot of the people inside the court definitely have their theory about who leaked it, but until that person admits it himself or herself, it will be difficult to know for sure.
Let me ask you this, Molly, without putting you on too much of the hot seat, although we do enjoy putting people on the hot seat somewhat here. Your new book is Alito, the justice who reshaped the Supreme Court and restored the Constitution. I am going to buy a copy today because I believe in buying books from authors who write great books. So I'm doing that. Clay's doing that. And I hope a lot of people listening will do that, too, because your previous works have proven that your books are worth reading, worth buying, and worth supporting. That all said, do you have in your mind a certainty that it was a clerk and not a Supreme Court justice involved in getting that decision released early in the way that we all saw the leak, essentially? To you, is it 100% that it was not actually a justice and that it had to be a clerk, or do you leave open that it could have been a justice?
I have not encountered a single knowledgeable person who thinks it's any of the justices. Now, meaning particularly directly. I do think that the universe is larger than just clerks. I do think it was likely it was a clerk, but there are permanent staff members also at the court. And, some people do think that maybe one of them did. I don't, for a variety of reasons, including that the original Politico article was speaking with their source, and their source had information about how the deliberations had gone and how the decision had gone in a way that a clerk would have access to. So I think that's likely. And it's not to say that the most recent leak might not have a current or former justice at the heart of it. It very well might. But as far as the Dobbs decision itself, I don't believe they were directly involved. And I also think it's hard to have more than one person involved, frankly, for that kind of leak.
We're talking to Molly Hemingway, great book out, Alito, that both Buck and I can't wait to read. Molly, a lot of discussion about the upcoming decisions that are still waiting from the Supreme Court. Birthright citizenship, an expectation, I'm curious if you would share it as well, from me at least, that Alito may well be writing the racial gerrymandering case that we are waiting on. Where do you see this term going based on what your research has shown you? I know this is looking forward. And what do you think are Justice Alito's top focus points from a larger judicial philosophy, assuming that he's going to stay on the court? What do you think he's looking at and interested in addressing going forward?
So first off, on that racial gerrymandering situation case, it is widely understood that Alito is writing the majority opinion there, just because he hasn't yet written something from the October setting of the court, and so that would be the obvious thing. Now, why has it not come out yet? This relates to what I just said about what happened after the Dobbs leak. The liberal justices slow-walked their dissent to achieve political outcomes, either literally getting one of their colleagues killed or just persuading one of their colleagues to move away from their decision. That was clearly what they were doing by slow walking. Well, there was reporting last week that they're slow walking the racial gerrymandering case. And the reason why would be probably related to the fact that if Alito is writing that decision, it's going to come down in a way that affects the midterm elections, and that the liberal justices don't like, that it's going to hurt the Democrat Party. And so if this is becoming a pattern, they're losing cases, they're throwing tantrums, they're yelling at their colleagues publicly, which has never, usually you just keep that to your opinions and your dissents and your concurrences, whatever mean things you want to say. But they're doing it publicly to undermine the integrity of the court. They're slow-walking decisions. This is not good. Now, as for what Alito's legacy and what he's thinking going forward, I think it's really interesting to compare. He and Justice Thomas are frequently on the same side of things. They're very consistent in their jurisprudence. Thomas is more of a libertarian originalist, and Alito is more of a conservative originalist. And I think going forward, one of the big lessons that Alito has to teach people is that you can be deeply principled and also incredibly effective. Right now, the right has these extremes where, on the one side, they're like, here are my principles, and I don't care what happens in terms of getting them to a point where they actually help people. And then you also have people who say, who cares about principles? We just have to win. Alito is a model, not just for attorneys and judges, but really for the entire country in how you can blend principle and pragmatism to make sure that the country benefits from those principles.
I could talk to you all day about the interior. We've got a quick turn here, but I want to ask you this. You talk to a ton of people. What's the vibe on Ketanji Brown Jackson? Is she super unpopular with everyone on the court, regardless of their politics, based on what you saw? It feels that way sometimes reading the opinions.
It's clear from reading the opinions that they don't have a lot of respect for her jurisprudence. She doesn't really try to tie things, not just to constitutional law, but the law itself. One highly placed person at the court had told me she makes Sonia Sotomayor look like a philosopher king. So that might tell you a little bit about how she's viewed.
Sounds about right. Molly Hemingway, everybody, go get her book, Alito, the Justice Who Reshaped the Supreme Court and Restored the Constitution. Molly, congrats on the success of it so far, and you're going to get a lot more book sales coming in today. We can assure you of that.
Thank you so much, guys.
Business owners, insurance is a must for your operation, but that doesn't mean you have to have multiple brokers for the various kinds of insurance you need. Having different policies, numerous applications, and no clear view of how it all fits together can be frustrating. And when questions come up, it's not easy to get the clarity you need. SuperSure changes that. There's one broker for all your business insurance, backed by a team that works for you year-round, not just at renewal. And if you've ever stared at a policy wondering what it covers, SuperSure has a fine print fax tool that translates the legal jargon into plain English so you know what's covered and what's not. Go online to supersure.com, get a full report on your current policies with no obligation. Find out if you're overinsured, underinsured, or somewhere in between. Go to supersure.com, one powerful platform, all your policies in one place. Supersure.com, that's supersure.com, paid for by Supersure Insurance Agency, LLC, a licensed insurance agency.
Preset your pals, Clay and Buck on the iHeart app.
Welcome back in, Clay, Travis, Buck Sexton Show. We now head up to the state of Minnesota to talk with our friend Michelle Tafoya. It's NFL Draft Week. You're running for the Senate. Does any part of you miss just saying who you think's going to get drafted by whom and how the draft's going to go? Or are you, because sometimes when the actual events happen, you'll hear athletes say, I don't miss practice or I don't miss all of the work that goes in, but the actual event itself I miss. Does any part of you miss the actual games or the actual events?
Sometimes I will tell you, I don't miss any cold weather games. I do not. I don't care how good the game is. That is the most uncomfortable 4, 5, 6 hours of your life. I don't care if you call me a wuss. I just don't care. You know what? I miss the people, some of my friends, Al, Chris, Fred and Drew, the producer and director, but I am so into what I'm doing now, although I will say it's a lot easier to say, you know what, I think Fernando Mendoza is going to go with the number 1 overall pick.
Yes.
You don't get nearly as much pushback on a take like that as you do in some of the takes that I say these days.
Well, how's it going in the land of politics for you? Give us an update. What's it looking like?
Well, the update is actually very good. You know, we got in the race January 21st, so not right at the beginning of the year. And still in the first quarter, we raised $2.2 million, which is a record for a Republican senatorial campaign in the first quarter. We beat out all of our Republican candidates combined that they've raised in the last year. And we even beat out Peggy Flanagan, the lieutenant governor who's running on the Democrat side. So our fundraising tells me people are excited about this. They want to be involved. You know, we went out and really, guys, we earned every cent of that. And it's thrilling for me to see people contribute $5 because it tells me that it's what they have to give and they are invested. And I love that. Or people that come up to me at fundraisers or meet and greets and they hand me a $10 bill. I love that because it just shows they want to be in it. They may not have a ton of money, but they want to be in it. And those are the people I can't wait to represent. So it's going very well.
What is, as you travel the state of Minnesota, what is the top storyline that you are picking up on? And I know there's a divide somewhat between more red voters in the northern parts and obviously Minneapolis, which might characterize things differently. But as you travel, what would you say is a unifying conversation that you're having with people? What does it feel like out around the state of Minnesota?
People are still furious about the fraud. And it's not only because we were all stolen from, and quite frankly, a lot of this was federal money, so you were stolen from too in this fraud. But they're angry that Tim Walz and Peggy Flanagan and AG Keith Ellison have not been held accountable to the extent that people would like. They're very curious about Ilhan Omar and her changing financial story. The accountability thing is big here in Minnesota. It's people want to know that if someone does something wrong in government, that they're going to pay a price for it, whatever that price is. And you can say, oh, well, Tim Walz, he's no longer running for that third term. He's paying his price. Well, no, he's actually not. And he started a new PAC. I don't know if you guys heard, called the Small Town PAC. He's continuing to pretend that he's a small town guy, even though every small town in Minnesota despises him and his policies. He just announced this PAC yesterday. So people are furious and they're embarrassed too. They're really embarrassed. They're like, you know, when we go out of town, when we travel, we don't want to say where we're from. And it's hard to blame them.
I was just going to say, I think this is important. You've got 4 Democrat-held seats: New Hampshire, Michigan, Minnesota, Georgia. And I'm not ranking those in any order, but just off the top right there. If you win, Michelle, there is a 0% chance, basically, that there would be a Democrat-controlled Senate. Do you feel people talking about that in your state, that you have the opportunity to swing a blue state seat back to a red state? Or do you think it's hyper-local? How much of this race that you're seeing is nationalized versus how much is Minnesota-specific?
I would say here in April, it's Minnesota-specific. And I do try to remind people we cannot allow, both of our seats to be held by Democrats. And as you know, Amy Klobuchar is running for governor. Should she win the governorship here in Minnesota, she would assign her seat to someone that she likes. That's obviously going to be a Democrat. So we really continue to push the importance of winning this seat and having some representation. But I think at this moment in time, people want to know how we're going to help Minnesota. And so I'm constantly driving those points home. And we've got a lot of ways we can do it from the federal government. And I don't want people to lose sight of that. It's really, really important. And I'm sure that we'll get here end of May, or as we head into the summertime, it'll become a lot more of a national story. But it is interesting, too, just talking to people who do have that macro perspective. They want to do this. And I can't think of a better time in Minnesota to flip a seat. Minnesotans want change. They're angry. We've got an open seat. And here you've got a Republican finally who can fundraise and do this. And again, I'm the fundraising, I think, exemplifies how excited people are. And they're behind me.
How much does the women's sports issue, given your background, but also I think there's, Michelle, there's an awakening among people on the right after the 2024 election and Trump's big win and the Republican Party really on that Trump wave. Democrats have not changed on this issue. They have not budged on this issue. They have not become more reasonable or rational or science-based. And given your background as a sports commentator as well as a woman and a mom and all these things, is this a place where people are saying to you, you know, we still have to stand strong on this issue, or is it just really pushed to the side because of cost of living, fraud and accountability, some of these other important issues?
No, it has not been pushed aside. We had one of the best examples here in Minnesota of the unfairness of this when the girls softball championship last year was won by a team whose most dominant and most active pitcher was a biological boy. And, you know, parents around Minnesota, they're not having it. They have not forgotten. They are still very much in the camp that this is totally unfair, unsafe, undesirable. They don't want their girls' spaces shared with boys. Look, and we just had our legislatures in session, and every Democrat in the Minnesota House and Senate voted against splitting these, saying that boys can't compete in girls' sports. They all voted against it. It's astonishing to me. And I run into parents and grandparents who say, I can't believe we're still talking about this. This is insanity. And as you both know, it is insanity. It still exists. I don't know what it's going to take, but it's certainly at the top of my agenda.
We're talking to Michelle Tafoya. We didn't talk about it much on the program, but Tim Walz, current governor of Minnesota, went overseas and ripped the United States positions on many different issues. Traditionally, there has been the idea that you might say negative things when you're here in the country, but you typically don't go overseas and rip the country. What were your thoughts on that, and what is Tim Walz's perspective now? I mean, the guy was almost vice president of the United States, 240,000 votes away, and now it seems like the proverbial chickens are coming home to roost here, and that there's a total collapse of his support. Are you feeling that as you travel around?
I do. And when he announced his new PAC, small town PAC, on the heels of this going abroad and ripping our country, and then he comes home and he announces he's got this new super PAC or PAC called the Small Town PAC, and people all over the state are saying, "Hey Tim, small towns don't like you. Small towns don't agree with you. Small towns embrace conservative values. Small towns despise what you've done to Minnesota. Get rid of the name Small Town PAC. You do not represent us." So, it's really not enough for people right now that he's still in office. He just continues to show. Earlier today, I was having a conversation with someone. We've got now under Tim Walz, he proposed, he had this board of educators or education advisors, and they got put into the school curriculum an ethnic studies program, which sounds fine enough, right? No, it's not. I charge you guys, I encourage you to go read it. And basically, one of the guys who advised him said, the critical race theory thing is not just to talk about race. It's to dismantle the United States as it is. And it is astonishing what's in this curriculum. And that's why it's so important that we continue to get people in office, statewide and federally, who are going to say, no way. Enough of this in public schools. 50% of our kids, guys, can't read at grade level. 50% of our kids in Minnesota can't do math at grade level. Education, public education, used to be one of the bragging points of Minnesota. It used to be something that we were top 3 in the United States. And now we're way down in the bottom 10. And it's because we're spending too much time talking about stuff that kids it doesn't benefit kids. It separates them. It makes them angry. It makes them depressed. It puts them into camps, oppressed versus oppressor. And this is what this curriculum is teaching. I'm not lying about it. Go take a look. It's disgusting. You might throw up while you're reading it, but it's important to know that that's there. And I hope and pray that this Minnesota state legislature changes enough to get rid of this thing.
One last question for you. I don't know if you've been asked about this, but this is in one of many things that's directly in your wheelhouse. Mike Vrabel, who's the head coach of the New England Patriots, just had a press conference and acknowledged difficult conversations with his family. For people out there who don't know, this has been a huge story. I think it's cut across beyond sports as well. Diana Rossini, who is a reporter for The Athletic, which is owned by the New York Times, and Mike Vrabel were photographed at a pool at an adult resort. And initially she kept her job. Then she resigned. Now he said he's had difficult conversations. You, as a woman who covered a lot of men, in the NFL for decades, what was your reaction when you saw that as someone who has been a reporter for, like I said, decades in the NFL?
Yeah. Well, you know what? When I first saw the photos, I was like, that's not the way that I would have done the job. Look, I went to NFL owners meetings. You're at resorts. You're at these kinds of occasions. I wouldn't be caught dead in a swimsuit near a coach or an owner or a GM, anyone. Now, that's just me. I tried to cut her some slack, and we still don't know all the details, except that she did decide to resign, and Mike Vrabel did finally make a statement. Look, when you're a journalist, integrity matters. Objectivity matters. And you can have great relationships with a coach or a player or an owner, whatever. But this one seemed to be just a little bit crossing the line. And again, I think her resigning was probably the best thing for her. I think ultimately she may land on her feet. There were people who were screaming for Mike Vrabel to say something. Really, the breakdown here is in the journalistic integrity. If you are a reporter covering anything, whether it's politics or sports or business, you've got to manage those relationships. And it just, you can't help but wonder where that relationship was going and what it might have done to her reporting. So that's where the line gets crossed. So I would have been very uncomfortable in that scenario. Again, I'm trying really hard not to be judgy and not to be, not to jump to conclusions, but given both of their statements, it seems like this was a difficult conversation, and Vrabel's going to have to deal with it in his world as Diana is in hers.
Let me give you 30 seconds here. A lot of people out there have daughters probably listening to us right now who dream of having a job like you had, who dream of having a job like Aaron Andrews has, sideline reporter involved in sports. What advice would you give them?
Be willing to work extremely hard, outwork everyone. I don't care if they're male, female. I don't care if they're tall or short. Be willing to outwork everybody. Take whatever assignments as you're starting out that come your way. Do them with a smile. Be a happy warrior. Work ethic to me is the number one thing in any job, and it certainly helped me. I know it was the difference maker for me. So, and being a team player, it's not about you. It's about what you're covering. It's about the story you're covering it. Cover it well, work hard, be easy and good to work with, and make sure that when you say something's off the record, it's off the record. Have integrity with the people that you're covering. And speaking of that, you guys have reach. I know you know your reach, but I was talking to a delegate here from Scott County, Clay. Lori said, you know what? If she's good enough for Clay and Buck, she's good enough for me. They love you here in Minnesota.
We're on your team, Michelle. You know that. We're going to have you on a lot during the campaign. Keep grinding. Keep fighting as hard as you can. And we got your back.
Thank you so much. Great to see you.
That's Michelle Tafoya. Look, I want to tell you right now, there's awful things happening in the Middle East. Christians and Jews are coming together to try to help people in need, whether it's turning a hospital into an underground hospital in the parking garage, whether it's building brand new bomb shelters, whether it's just getting food to people who are elderly and don't have the ability to get out. They are doing all of those things. It's a bridge across so many different parts of our country and our distance. It's a bridge between Christians and Jews. The IFCJ is helping those in Israel right now. They do selfless work, excellent results. I saw it. They take care of everybody. For $45 from you, they can rush life-saving essentials to vulnerable people under fire. 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-IFCJ.
Keeping it real, keeping it right. Clay and Buck. Find them on the iHeart app or wherever you get your podcast.
When the dollar's convertibility into gold ended in 1971, gold was fixed at $35 an ounce. Fast forward to today, the effects of inflation on the U.S. dollar are staggering. It's lost over 85% of its purchasing power in the past 55 years. Gold, on the other hand, has increased in value by over 12,000%. That's why many central banks around the world are buying gold at record levels. That's why major firms hold significant positions in gold. Birch Gold Group just announced their Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. This free online event rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. Sign up to get free silver on your next purchase if you qualify. And you can get even larger incentives as you go. The more you learn, the more you can earn. But you must act now, as this special event only runs through April 30th. Text my name Buck to the number 989898 to join Birch Gold's Learn and Earn Precious Metals event by April 30th. Text Buck to 989898 today.
Get ready for the wildest sight your lawn has ever seen. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. This spring, unleash soil science like never before. Witness your custom lawn plan and the transformation to a soft green paradise.
Sorry, just trying to get your attention. Sunday is a boringly simple way to get a green, healthy yard. No harsh stuff, no big trucks, no chaos. Order today and get your custom Sunday yard plan for the season ahead. Sunday, smarter lawn care for less. GetSunday.com.
The countdown is on for the 2026 NFL Draft presented by Bud Light. Catch all 7 rounds, 3 days, live from Pittsburgh, April 23rd through 25th. Watch every pick live on NFL Network, ESPN, and ABC. NFL Network is also streaming with NFL Plus. It all starts Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Visit NFL.com/draft for more information. Subscription required for NFL Plus. Visit plus.nfl.com for terms.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Third hour of Clay and Buck kicks off now, everybody. And I've got a whole bunch of things I want to lay out for you, but Clay is giving me the hand signal because we have special secret Clay and Buck show hand signals for breaking news. It better be breaking. It better not be about some guy's extension for coaching some league somewhere. What is this breaking news? What is this breaking news?
Not that, Buck, but I do think this is fairly significant given how close the House majority and minority situation is. Representative Sheila Sherfless McCormick from Florida, a Democrat, has resigned from Congress. She was found guilty of violating more than 20 House ethics rules and faces, this is Bill Malugion's update, faces federal charges for stealing millions of dollars in FEMA money. So this is the third resignation from the House in the space of just a few days now. And this is a Democrat seat that is being relinquished. We'll see what else is, if there's anybody else that's going to drop out. But I thought that was pretty significant because she had faced a lot of calls to resign. Republican congressman from South Florida has resigned, and obviously Swalwell. And one more thing before you dive in. we're waiting. We still don't know. JD Vance has not left, and we don't know if he's going to leave for Pakistan for these talks, whether or not that's going to happen.
Let me tell you, if I'm JD Vance, you know what I'm saying? Can we do this via Zoom? Can I speak to the Iranian negotiators with a Zoom call? You know, I would do this.
You just made fun of me for saying this is an awful plane flight to have to take all the way to Pakistan. I would be loath to get on that flight.
There's a difference between, he's flying on Air Force 2 or whatever. He's going to have a nice layout bed. It's going to be way fancier than any of us are going to be, you know, traveling to that part of the world. That said, I'd still rather do a Zoom from the comfort of my own home with these Iranian negotiators who are just going to be playing games. There's not going to be a deal, okay? Trump may say tomorrow, we've reached a great deal, and then it will be, we're doing a follow-up on the deal in 6 weeks, which is another way of saying what I've told you all along. It's going to be an agreement to talk more about what the agreement will be. And that is where this is heading. So I think that JD should make the case for this should be a Zoom, because Islamabad, I'm going to tell you, Uber Eats Islamabad, probably not great. I'd rather be in DC personally.
I would agree with you that the food, I'm not, and we're going to make enemies today. First New Jersey, now Pakistan. I am not sold that the food would be very good in Pakistan either. And I would not want to get on a flight for 12 or 13 hours, go negotiate for 21. Here's the other thing, Buck. I think you're right. I don't think we're going to get any actual resolution. And so we'll see, what transpires, but that's the absolute latest there.
I'll tell you, Pakistani food, believe it or not, is quite similar to what we think of as Indian food, which they would not want to hear, but it is true. And Indian food is delicious. So it depends. You just want to get a certain quality of it. That said, I think that your options beyond that cuisine in Islamabad, probably not great. I think Lahore is supposed to be, the most sophisticated city in Pakistan, the most international. It's on the coast. So I think Lahore, you'd probably get some good stuff, but Islamabad is kind of the Albany of Pakistan. And I love you, Albany, because we have a great station there, but it's not New York. You know, it's New York City. I mean, it's not the cosmopolitan
you
capital.
Just that was such a New Yorker move of you to just flying elbow Albany out of nowhere. Just obliterated them.
I'm going to move on to Kamala Harris here for a second.
People in Albany just driving around, having a good day, and then Macho Man Randy Savage off the top rope just leg drops him, flying elbow.
They're both the capitals. I'm just saying, the capital of one, capital of the other. There you go. You know, you're lucky. Your state is a rarity in that most states. Wait, actually, I don't know if it's most states. A lot of states, the main city is not the capital. Right? Clearly, that's the case.
Everybody wants to come to Nashville, but I do understand that nobody wants to leave Manhattan for Albany. Like, there is a lot of people that are not excited necessarily to be departing the center.
I've never
of the
been to
country.
Sacramento. I used to be a big fan of their basketball team, actually, back in the Chris Webber, Vlade Divac, Mike Bibby days. But when I used to watch the NBA.
That team, you'll well remember, Buck, was robbed by the officiating.
Totally robbed.
Yeah,
by LA, by Los Angeles Lakers, and an official was totally bought off. The whole thing was a
Tim
scam.
Donaghy.
You could tell watching it was a scam. It was obvious that it was actually one of those times you yell, the refs are paid off, and they really were. But Sacramento is not one of the primary cities for California. Anyway, you guys all know this. You go to a lot of different states. This is the situation. So with that all said, let's not talk about. So JD's heading to Islamabad, maybe. Don't you think, though, that the Zoom pitch would be, they can do secure video, just so you know, that's not a hard thing to do. They do this in the intelligence world all the time. So don't you think a secure video would be the move here? I
Yes.
just think that they're making JD go a long way to not come home with the prize. Nonetheless. All right. Kamala Harris, she's probably running. I'd give the very, very long odds that she's not at this point, which is sad for me. I don't know what I was thinking that day. I was just trying to be feisty, and Clay completely suckered me into this bet that, I mean, yeah, granted, I threw out the bet idea, but you jumped on that right away. You were like, this guy's in it. This guy's selling me Amazon for $5. Like, this is crazy. And so that anyway, I take my lumps on this one. Kamala here, though, how is she going to be the Democrat? And that's an interesting thing, because you would talk about how incompetent she is and how she's not a good politician. All true. But look at the rest of the field. I still think Gavin Newsom's going to beat her, and that's really interesting to me because they're both California. They're kind of relying on the same donor base and the same. But here she is giving you a sense of, I think, where some of the Kamala campaign, should it happen, because it is not 100% yet. It's like 99%. Here it is, cut one.
I think it's okay for us to be a bit transactional too. And to say, I'm going to get mine also. And so don't count on me to be a voter and be the backbone of the Democratic Party.
She's talking about black women there as the backbone of the Democratic Party and saying, I'm gonna get mine, addressing in the urban vernacular, if you will, Kamala Harris, the pandering and the transformation that Kamala is going to engage in to being, how would you put it? To being
Kamala is going to run, in order to be the nominee, an identity-laden politics campaign, the likes of which you have never seen before. And she's going to argue to this audience of black women, as she is already starting to preview, we have always been treated unfairly. I am your voice. And she's going to say, if I'm not selected, it is the Democrat Party turning their back on you, the backbone of the Democrat Party. And that is going to be her entire campaign in the primary. And Buck, I think it's going to work. And again, I don't think she's just going to run. I think she's going to win the nomination. And I don't think she's going to win the nomination in a way that makes her a likable candidate for the general election, but she is going to lean on identity politics as the reason why she's entitled to this nomination. She's going to argue, she's already started the argument. She's going to argue, you and I think it's ridiculous. You read the book. She's going to argue the reason she lost is because they threw her into an unwinnable situation after 107 days. Wait for this. Clip it. Producer Ali, save it, because you guys are going to say, oh my God, Clay completely called this. She's going to say that she had to do what black women always have to do, pick up the mess that old white guys create. She's going to turn herself into an avatar for black women across America who are given difficult jobs because the leaders that gave them those jobs weren't up to the challenge. And she's going to say, Joe Biden left me a mess, didn't give me time to clean it up. I only got 107 days. The idea that she wrote that book called 107 Days is not a coincidence. And she's going to argue that she's the most qualified. Black women are the base of the Democrat Party, and she has to be the nominee, or it's racist and sexist not to pick her. Now, I think it's going to be hard for Democrats to get past her. Here's how they do it.
I don't think that you're on. I think that's what you're laying out is accurate. I think it's a given. I think there's no question. We already know if she gets far enough what the narrative will be. So you're correct, but I don't think that that's you're not out on a limb with that one.
Okay, so I think that that will be her argument. How do you rebut it? Okay, if the Democrat Party wants to self-select like they did for Bernie when they took him out for Hillary, and like they did for everybody else when they rigged everything for Biden, both in 20 and in 24, they need to find a minority candidate who can cut into Kamala's appeal with black women. Is it AOC? I don't know. I think it's the reason she's in a good spot is there is no other black female candidate that is able to tap into the audience that she already has gained the loyalty of. So one, is there a way? Does AOC peel any of that away? Can Wes Moore? Cory Booker can't. It's just never going to happen for him. But is there a minority candidate that can cut into her minority appeal? That's cut one for what they do. 2 is, Buck, and I keep hammering this, and I'm the only person in America who seems to say it, which primary states are first? If they make South Carolina and Georgia and Tennessee early up in the primary process, Kamala is going to be the nominee. If they suddenly go back and say, we got to go back to New Hampshire and we got to go back to Iowa, it gives other people a chance to get their voices heard. But if they go to states with large black populations in the primary, Kamala is going to be the nominee. I'm just telling you. You can think it's crazy, but a lot of people would have said it was crazy when in 2022, if you had said, hey, Donald Trump's going to win his best victory of all time in 2024. I think she believes time is on her side.
I've also got something else that I've got to say. The reporting on this would indicate that Clay was onto something, which I hate to admit, but I cannot tell a lie. You see this stuff about DeSantis?
Mm-hmm.
You said Supreme Court. I said I don't think he wants Supreme Court. I think he wants to stay in the game. The reporting right now is, well, it's kind of both are right now in play in the sense that he either wants a top 3 cabinet job or, which would be War, Department of War, Department of Defense, Secretary of State, or maybe Treasury. Some people would put that there, but
AG, that he's very interested in AG, according to this.
No, Axios is saying he's not interested in AG.
Oh, okay, I see this headline right now. Sorry, yes.
Not interested in AG. That's what was surprising to me.
Okay,
but
yes.
Is interested possibly in a Supreme Court opening. That I did not see. I thought that he would. So it's not that he wants that as the top choice, but apparently the reporting is that DeSantis is open to the idea, which I will admit is a surprise to me. I thought he would want to be in the political game. No question, no fuss, no muss. But turns out, at least if you believe this, and this doesn't, you can always, there's the things that the New York Times and Axios report where there's political advantage in lying, and you have to be careful. But there's sometimes where they probably just want to report what they're finding because why not? Why not be, there's no penalty for accuracy. That's what you have to remember with the corporate media. If there's no penalty for accuracy, sometimes they tell the truth.
Yeah, and also, if the reporting corresponds with some things that you or I have experienced, again, Ron DeSantis, and I say this favorably, is a law nerd. He loves reading Supreme Court opinions. He likes to analyze the law. I think I said this, week or 2 weeks ago, as the Alito talk, Clarence Thomas. I thought that it was interesting that Molly Hemingway mentioned, John Roberts, also over 70 years old, that there would be deep interest potentially in a replacement there. And this interesting part in the Axios story, Buck, is that there is a headline here that specifically references Clarence Thomas. DeSantis and conservative Justice Clarence Thomas said, according to a source, almost have a father-son relationship. That would be a hell of a legacy for Trump. Now, I told you, and I think you probably sign on this too as well, Buck, it only takes about 2 more years for Clarence Thomas to be the longest serving justice of all time. I think that matters to him. I don't think he's going to leave before then, if he's healthy.
DeSantis would also be a super difficult target for Democrats to try to submarine. He has the intellect. He has the skills. He has the he has a background. He's got a super clean, everything would have come out about him already. There's nothing to hit.
Yeah,
they can try to Kavanaugh him, but we would see that coming the same way now it'd be Kavanaugh part 2. It's not going to work. So yeah, I think that's very, and Clay, I thought that you were off on that one, and I will give you, I will give you the full credit for thinking that is a possibility.
Look, 40 years of DeSantis on the Supreme Court would be an absolute home run for Trump.
Yes.
We always talk about how would a guy
It was always
govern.
a good idea from that perspective. I just didn't, I thought Ron still wanted to be president. Like, I'm telling you this right now, Ted Cruz does not want Supreme Court. Ted Cruz wants to run. Different thing. That I think is very clear to people in that orbit. So Ron, though, maybe wants that Supreme Court seat.
Look, we talk so much about what will people do when they actually have lifetime tenure. DeSantis would be Alito or Thomas. He would have everybody's back for 40 years. Just honestly, he would.
Long-term investing is the way to get actually great results. Okay. That's just the truth. Long-term thesis for investing is something you want to stick to. And if you're taking the long view, guess what? Gold makes a lot of sense because gold over time has grown in value. In fact, over the last 20 years, the value of gold has increased by 700%. I own gold and I've bought gold, going back for a decade. So look, I wish I had bought more, quite honestly. Birch Gold Group wants you to look at gold for the long term. And they've just announced their Learn and Earn Precious Metals event at Birch Gold Group. It's a great opportunity to learn more about macroeconomics, like what's really happening with the economy at a high level, and why gold, again, taking that long view, makes sense. This free online event rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. Sign up to get free silver on your next purchase if you qualify. You can even get larger incentives as you go. The more you learn, the more you can earn. Act now. This special event runs only through April 30th. You have 10 days left. Text my name, Buck, to 989898 to join Birch Gold's Learn and Earn Precious Metals event by April 30th. Text BUCK to 989898.
Level up your brain. Mental mugging with Clay and Buck.
People don't listen to radio ads. While you're driving or making a sandwich, your subconscious pays full attention. So relax. Let it take over.
Sunday makes yard care simple with a custom plan based on your soil, climate, and yard size. No pesticides, no harsh stuff.
Custom Sunday lawn plan.
Order today and get your
Custom Sunday lawn plan.
ready for the season ahead. Sunday, a smarter, healthier yard.
The countdown is on for the 2026 NFL Draft presented by Bud Light. Catch all 7 rounds 3 days live from Pittsburgh, April 23rd through 25th. Watch every pick live on NFL Network, ESPN, and ABC. NFL Network is also streaming with NFL Plus. It all starts Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Visit NFL.com/draft for more information. Subscription required for NFL Plus. Visit plus.nfl.com for terms.
Tired of spills and stains on your sofa? Wash away your worries with Anabay. Anabay is the only designer sofa that's machine washable inside and out, starting at just $699. Plus, Anabay sofas are pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and feature changeable slip covers and modular pieces. Get up to 60% off site-wide with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Visit washablesofas.com to get yours now. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
These days, it seems like AI agents are just about everywhere you turn, every field and every function. But without identity, you can't trust they'll serve your business instead of jeopardizing it. Fortunately, Okta helps you get identity right by securing your AI agents' identities, giving you a single layer of control, a single standard of trust. So whether an AI agent supports a single user or your entire enterprise, with Okta, you'll turn risk into opportunity. Secure every agent. Secure any agent. Okta secures AI.